My name is Zach Bolin, and I'm here on behalf of Print Action Magazine. I'm interviewing Ernest Barbaric, digital marketing strategist, on how printers can leverage social media to enhance their marketing campaigns. Ernest, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a digital marketing strategist, just like you mentioned. I have my own company, a consultancy that I've ran for 5 years, a little bit over 5 years now. And I work with a large variety of different businesses, and most recently I've kind of started focusing more on the social good aspect of certain companies that I work with. And I also teach a certificate program at Mount Royal University in Calgary.
Well, that's interesting. I don't know how much you know about the commercial printing world, but printers used to be very social animals. They would, when there was a lot of print, they would be constantly meeting at the Craftsman Club, as an example, to take a look at each other's work. They would enter in competitions.
Right.
As the print world consolidated, and as the number of printed sheets, the growth sloped off, of course, due to online and digital. It's become increasingly competitive in the print world, and printers to some extent have almost become antisocial in a way. Why would a printer want to embrace social media as a part of their marketing strategy?
Well, I think we'd have to figure out, have a bit of a broader look at kind of what's happening in the print industry, and in our conversation beforehand, fact is that some of the print jobs some of them are going offshore. Some of the print shops are getting more consolidated, so they only have an online presence rather than a brick and mortar store. So the whole cost structure and everything else is changing. And also there seems to be less and less demand for, due to the changing circumstances in the marketing field, less demand for print type work. So the competition, just like you said, has researched. So that's where companies in general, not just printer companies, companies in general, print companies I should say, need to figure out a way that they're going to stand out amongst whatever is left of their competition. And I usually call it a pain in the ass factor. I hope that's okay to say in the camera here. But the idea is that if you're willing to do the extra work, those are the kind of things that make you stick out. And social media, as it sits right now, could be that extra step that gets you to stand above your competition, because the pool is smaller, yet there's the same amount of fish. So what are you going to do about it? So social media can really come in and play a critical role when it comes to outbound marketing and inbound marketing as well for any company, including a printer.
There's a lot of confusion amongst people who are not well versed in social media as to what it actually is and what it entails. In the early days when printers began to put up their own websites, they would go into the pre-press department, which were the people that had the Macs, and they would say, make me a website. And then they would walk out of the room.
Right.
And the people were left scratching their heads. Why do they want the website? What do they want to do with it?
Right.
Do you find that people are the same with social media to some extent?
That's kind of an interesting question, because I believe that what's happening now, well, what's been happening for a while, is that people sort of lump social media into this one thing. But it really isn't. It would be saying, marketing is this one thing. Social media in and of itself can have a number of different avenues. So it could mean anything from a blog to replying to, let's say, for example, to reviews on Yelp, to engaging in a content marketing piece through YouTube or video or audio or any of those number of kind of things. So I think that's the first confusion that comes into play, where even some of the clients that I consult with now will say, we need to add some social media. Well, that's like saying, we need to, build a house, and you have no idea what the shape it's going to be like, or how many rooms, or how tall it is. Is there a couple of floors? How many people are going to be in the house? So it's a very vague kind of a thing. So I think
put some spices in that food.
Yes,
well,
exactly.
What do you want it to taste like? I mean,
yeah. Exactly. So it is very much like that. And there was an interesting quote that I heard recently, and it comes down to this area of what mix is going to work. You're not actually looking to make up new ingredients. What you're trying to do is make the best recipe with the ingredients that are available. So your recipe can be different than somebody else, meaning that, for example, it could be a mix of Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube versus somebody who's focusing on, let's say, for example, Reddit, a blog, and a podcast. And that might work for each of them individually, yet they're using social media in completely different ways.
Well, that's interesting, and it kind of leads into the next question. I'm sure you're asked this a lot. What social media tools would you find most useful for a relatively conservative business?
If there is an interesting notion that I'll often teach in class and courses, it's this idea of trying to figure out what is it that you actually own. And if you think about social media as Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, those are third-party platforms that you have no control over. So, for example, if Facebook were to shut down tomorrow and you have 1,000 fans on there, 1,000 likes, you don't have any contact with those people ever anymore. You're done. So the first thing to do would be to invest majority of your marketing dollars and the majority of your time would be into optimizing your website. So making sure your website is really good, consumer friendly. And the second thing of all this is really important, would be to research something called conversion rate optimization. And basically what that addresses is how many, for example, visitors you get on your website and how many will convert into users, or how many convert into purchases, or how many will convert into customers. So conversion rate optimization is a very important thing. The second thing we would look at here is to move more into the content marketing space. So one of the ways you can do that within something that you own would be through a blog. And a blog gives anybody, any organization, gives them a publishing platform. So why you would do that would be, for example, to demonstrate thought leadership would be one way, to let your customers get to know you before they actually purchase something from you, get to meet some of your companies, some of the work that you've done, so you can actually lay out a very compelling story through a blog that your potential customers can experience you before they actually buy one of your products or services or contact one of your salespeople. It also gives a very humanizing way to look at an organization. So blog would be number 2. And finally, this is something that I've seen a sort of really strong resurgence for, and it's email marketing. So developing a database and an email newsletter would be probably one of the most powerful things when it comes to digital marketing that any organization can do. Because, for example, if you and I are connected, if you've opted into giving me your email address, and I have a business that sells, let's say, TVs or something, and you're really interested in high-tech TVs, that gives us a relationship that we can connect at any point in time, regardless of it, Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube goes down, or they get shut down, or changed, or whatever else happens to them, or they turn into the next MySpace or AOL. So that would be the 3 things that I think are a foundation or a really good digital marketing strategy. Once you have that dialed down, then we can actually start doing some more outbound stuff. Through when it comes to printers specifically, it would be interesting to regular consumers to see what's happening behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. And what better way to do that than through video?
YouTube, yeah,
YouTube, exactly. or a video, so Vimeo could be another platform, and that becomes a piece of content that's interesting to look at. It humanizes your organization, and it can act sort of as a step ladder towards somebody's decision to purchase with your organization versus somebody else's.
If I could ask you a question about email marketing that you brought up a little while ago here, how do you differentiate your email marketing efforts from spam? Everyone hates spam.
I think that, and this is the one question that should be asked before you publish anything on your blog, on your website, or anywhere else, is that what value does this bring to the person receiving this? And so, for example, if we're using email marketing to just shoot out specials, that's not necessarily email marketing, that's spamming. Mm-hmm. If we're using email marketing to, for example, show other business owners that are using our services how, so-and-so company in Connecticut has decided to put together these really innovative flyers, and this is the kind of results that they've seen, and if you have any questions, we'd love to help you out. That kind of stuff, because it's bringing value to me as a business owner, works. Mm-hmm. And so that's the check. That's a check and balance that.
So it's to engage and inform rather than just
sell.
To sell, and hopefully the sales will come with that.
There is always room for a call to action. So, for example, when somebody sees an email, if there's a clear path to, if you're interested to find out more, contact us here, or one of our sales reps will be more than happy to answer any of your questions. Something like that always works, because it's almost like it's almost a given, and it should be available on the side and highly visible, and that's fine. but the main purpose of the content isn't to sell, because that's like leaving door knockers about grass cleaning services
Yeah, exactly.
all day, every day, right? And eventually you just don't even look at them, you just toss them in the trash.
And then hopefully, because people have opted in to the email, they've given you permission
Yes.
to market directly to them, right?
That's a very good point. There's when it comes to specifically to email marketing, there's something called a double opt-in, which is what most organizations should actually use. It is unethical to, for example, grab somebody's business card and then add them to your email list, because that can land you in some pretty hot water with providers, and might even have your domain blacklisted.
So, assuming as a marketer you get someone's attention, what's the next step? I mean, at the end of the day, a sale has to be made, right? I mean, that's how we make money. What would you consider a viable strategy for actually converting?
Okay, so let's say, for example, we've used social media in some way, and we now have one of those visitors or users have come to our website. And the next step from there would be to have for example, we talked about the conversion rate optimization, to have a clearly visible next step, which could be contact one of our salespeople to answer your questions, could be something like that. I think what it comes down to is that if in the print industry, and this is very similar to across a number of different industries, is that people are looking at you as a commodity. You need to break out of being a commodity first, and then go from there. Because, for example, I can contact 7 printers for a large print job that I have, and if the only thing that I'm looking for is the number, that's it. So a printer and any organization has to figure out a way that they're not just
The value add.
well, the value add would be one, but they're not just a commodity. It's not like buying butter.
Yeah.
I think that's where the trust and the value really comes into play.
Well, that's interesting. Is the true marketing value of a social media asset actually measurable?
It can be. It depends on how you measure it. I think that for example, understanding how many followers you have on Twitter or how many likes you have on Facebook is not a really good measurable thing. For example, if we're using our social media presence to sell things, what we might want to measure in that particular case would be how many people have gone from Twitter to the website, and out of those people, how many have contacted one of our sales representatives. And that gives you a clear path of measurement. So
And through a dedicated landing page, as an example.
a dedicated landing page works really well, and there's different ways to do that. You can, again, through conversion rate optimization come into play, but there are really simple math equations that can come out of like this how many followers we have, out of that many we have this many that have gone to the landing page, or the landing page we have this amount of conversion. Therefore you can actually extrapolate your conversion points at each point and understand that how social media is playing into that.